And we're back. Finally, thank you for joining me at the Critics Clinic for all things movie and entertainment prescription related. I'm here to give a quick rundown about the movie Weapons. Everyone's talking about it right now. They're calling it the horror movie of the year. We'll get to that in a second. Not going to give any spoilers, just going to give my honest kind of assessment of the movie and what I thought about it. Before we do anything else, subscribe, like, comment below. I haven't done a movie in a while, but there's some more movies coming out, so I'm doing a lot of reviews all at once, so bear with me. Watch them. They're coming out. So I want to get into my 5 categories about this movie, Weapons. Obviously 5 categories, 2 points each for a total of 10 points. First, starting out with my cast and crew, can make or break a movie. I will say, going into this movie, I did not know much about it. I tried to stay away, because I saw it like a week later, so I tried to stay away from all the synopses and the reviews and all that kind of stuff. And I did not see Barbarian, so I didn't really even know what this director, kind of what his, like, ideals were and kind of how he did things. So I'm going into this completely blind. Cast and crew, obviously, Julia Garner, she's like the woman of the hour. She's kind of in everything right now. She was literally just in Fantastic Four a week and a half ago. Heralding Galactus. Now she's heralding missing children, I suppose. I would say she did great in both roles. I would say from an acting standpoint, Julia Garner does no wrong to me. She's on Ozark. She's Anna Delvey on Netflix. She's, again, Silver Surfer, Shia LaBeouf. She's doing this. She does a great role. She really immerses herself into her roles, and she really is a chameleon. So I think from that standpoint, she did great. She was very angsty and anxious type teacher who's trying to figure out what happened to these kids, and she's not to blame, but she's kind of the scapegoat for everyone. It was a very anxious type feeling. She was an extreme alcoholic, and they showed that in the movie, and she acted that really well. Josh Brolin's character playing this like over aggressive, angry, backwoods, but also well-to-do in a backwoods area type father who's very authoritative, where's my son type vibe. He did a great job in that role, for better or for worse. You really did not like him towards the beginning of the movie. But towards the end, with him and Julia Garner trying to figure out what happened, I felt like he redeemed himself. Sort of. And again, I'm no spoilers, but I would say they did a great job, because you kind of, me personally, disliked him throughout the movie, showing me how good of a role he did in terms of his acting. Benedict Wong, we all know him from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He did a great job playing like the principal, and then his flip towards the middle of the movie, which you'll know what I'm talking about when it happens. He did a great job. I'd say cast and crew, I don't really have any complaints. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 2. They did what they needed to do with the script that was given to them, and we're going to go into that category, into the plot, into the script. Again, I don't know a lot about Zach Cregger. Again, didn't see Barbarians. I know critics are really raving about this movie being just kind of the horror movie of the decade and definitely of the year. I'll get to that in my final synopsis of how I felt about this movie overall. I would say the plot, for me, I saw it with one of my good movie friends. I felt like there were some plot holes, especially with Aunt Gladys. And I forgot to mention earlier on, Amy Madigan did a great job playing Aunt Gladys. She's a central character in this movie. You'll see why once you see the movie. She's just wild and crazy makeup, and very interesting role. Again, without giving it away, she is the antagonist of this movie. So I'd say from a plot standpoint, there were some plot holes in terms of how the children went missing, how the mechanism for control in this movie happens was hit or miss for me. I felt like it was on at certain points and not at other points. Storyline wise, there were times I was trying to make it make sense, especially towards the end when the little boy kind of flipped the mechanism on Aunt Gladys, and I couldn't really pinpoint exactly the plot making perfect sense and being smooth. And then honestly, it was kind of a simplistic plot, because you don't get a lot of backstory into Aunt Gladys, into who she is, how she does what she does, how she ended up here, why she turns on her entire family. You don't really know those things, and I think we need a backstory. Obviously, they're going into, because the movie's doing well, I think they're going to be making a backstory movie, which maybe the complaints I have will be gone at that point, because then I'll understand why everything happened in this movie. But so far, with what we have and this plot, there were parts I felt that I was lacking. The plot wasn't bad at all. Obviously, people are enjoying it. It just, there were plot holes. There were moments that were missing, and I am one of those big proponents of let me figure it out and don't handhold, but this was more than that. I just felt like there was just information I just did not know in this universe that I needed to know to really understand this story. So from a plot standpoint, I'll give it a 1. So right now we're at a 3. In terms of production, there was good and there was bad. I think it takes place in a small little town. That makes sense. That was fine. Most of it was filmed in Atlanta, and we saw most of the landmarks. And we're like, oh, this is Atlanta. So that was fine. They did a good job of covering it up, though. A lot of the set design, a lot of the makeup, especially when they're in the basement with the children. I don't know. I feel like it could have been eerier. It could have been scarier. It was campy, and I'm sure there were parts of it that were meant to be campy. But sometimes, especially with Aunt Gladys and kind of how she acted and how she did things and how she dressed, I felt like it was a little overdone for me. It just wasn't in my taste. I'll just be honest. So I'd say from a production standpoint, I'm going to give it a 1. So right now we're at a 4. In terms of music, sound, as you always know, if it's not a musical, if the songs do not progress the story and it's not overtly just horrible, I'm going to give it a 2. So it's going to get a 2 out of 2. So we're at a 6 right now. My final category, how did I feel about this movie? I have a lot of thoughts about this. I'm going to try and keep it short. Overall, the movie was entertaining. I did find myself wondering what was happening in the plot and where was this going. And I thought something very different from the trailers up until the movie. Even watching the movie, going through it, I was trying to figure out what was going to happen. And the ending did not really satisfy my curiosity of this world that we're in. But again, if there is a prequel, I'll take this all back in that review. But I would say from a plot standpoint, it was lacking a little bit for me. The acting was great. The biggest thing that I had an issue with, I was telling my friend this, it's touted as being a horror movie, the greatest horror movie of the year. I don't know that I can call it a horror movie. And again, without giving it any spoilers, definitely there's a science fiction aspect to it. But horror, I didn't get that from this movie. I didn't get horror. I did not. There was a little bit of gore. There's a little bit of blood. I would actually go as far as to call this a dark comedy. And if you've seen it already and you've been in the theaters, you'll see where there's just a ton of laughing moments. And there's a lot of just kind of like off moments that you see in dark comedies, mixed with gore. But I don't even know that I could call it horror. I wasn't terrified or scared ever. There were some little like jolt moments, like especially when they're like waking up from sleep and they're trying to figure out if there's like something on their ceiling or not. But outside of that, but again, it was more like a dark comedy type vibe, which I guess I didn't expect. I did not like that. It didn't feel like a horror movie to me. The whole time I was waiting for it to become a horror movie watching it. And then when the credits rolled, I was just like, oh, this wasn't a horror. No, it's just like a commentary on like society and how we feel about like people and children and elderly and things like that. So it felt like a dark comedy, not a horror. The other thing I would say, I might get a lot of flack for this. In a world in which we exist where sinners exist. Sinners, Ryan Coogler, which to me was not only the best horror movie, actual horror, of the year, it was the best movie of the year. Genreless. This does not compare. I'm sorry for those out there who loved this movie. There is just not comparison. It's comparing apples to Taj Mahals. Like they're just in different realms, different universes. And to say that this is the best horror movie of the year is silly. I can have my theories as to why people are really trying to build this movie up over Ryan Coogler's movie. And you can kind of put in the comments what you think. I thought this movie was decent overall. Did I enjoy it overall? I would give it a 1 out of 2. I would give it a prescription of a 7 out of 10. It wasn't a bad movie. It's just, for me, it wasn't even one of the best movies of the year, let alone the best horror movie of the year. It's laughable because it was funny. People say it wasn't a bad movie, but again, going into it blindly without all the false pretenses of, oh, it's the best movie of the year, oh, this is the best horror, this, that, and the other, Seeing Barbarian, I kind of saw it through a very clear and unaltered lens. I would say go see it and make your own interpretation of it because it is an interesting movie, and I do look forward to them expanding this universe, especially with Aunt Gladys and getting her backstory. And if there is I have since read about the Barbarian connection potentially, and if there's a connection there, kind of making that connection with the next movie and bringing in some of those characters to this city. Sure. And again, I would like to see that because I think we need more information to really enjoy this movie because I just feel like there were some plot holes and it was missing some things. By no means the best horror movie in the last even couple of months, let alone this year. I would say 7 out of 10 Prescription. I didn't hate it. I also did not love it. I don't need to see it again. Tell me what you think below. Again, this was a very maybe harsh review for some because all the other reviewers are saying, oh, it's amazing, this movie of the year. Again, tell me what you think. Bye.